17. Pitaham asya jagato mata data pitamadaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksama yogyorevacha. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of the knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, Sama, and Yajur Vedas. Text 18. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Saranam Sukrit Prabhava Pralaya Sthanam Nidhanam Vijamavyayam. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seed. 19. Taptyaham aham varsham nigramya yuscha jamnyacha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasakchaham Arjuna. O Arjuna, I control heat, the rain, and the drought. I am immortality, and I am also death personified. Both being and non-being are in me. Text 20. Trividyamam soma praputa papa yagyeristvasvargatim pratyatyante te punyamastya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. They take birth on the planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Text 21. Tetam bhuktva svarga lokam vishalam shine punye martya lokem vishanti evam triya dharma nupapana gata gatam karma kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed heavenly sense pleasure, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, through the Vedic principles, they achieve only flickering happiness. Text 22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jata paryupasyate tesham nityabhiya yuktanam yoga shemam vashamyam vahamyaham. But those who worship me with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. Text 23. Yepyantya devata bhaktya yajante shradhaya vitaha tepi mameva kunteya yajantya vidhi purvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. 24. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha papueva cha natu mam abhijananti tartvendas charvante te. I am the only enjoyer and the only subject of sacrifice. Those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Om Ajnana Tamanayandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Text 13. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in the devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, this verse is in reference to the pure devotees, or some may also say Srimati Radharani. Here it is said that those who are great souls under the protection of Krishna here it says, those who are the great souls are under the protection of Krishna, divine or eternal potency. So one of these things about life is everybody is under control. And due to illusion, we are thinking that we're not under control. This is one of the biggest illusions that one falls accustomed to believing. It's a very big illusion that we're not under control, and we are under control in so many different aspects. For instance, time, right? Nobody wants to grow old, nobody wants to die, but time is forcing it. The way the material world works, we have to grow old, we have to die. So, everyone in this material world is under Krishna's external energy, as it is describing in this verse. But those who are pure devotees, like Srimati Radharani, are under Krishna's internal energy, or any of Lord Chaitanya's associates, or, any pure devotee who makes it to the Mahatma platform. He is ultimately under the internal energy rather than the external energy. So this external energy, it's personified as Mother Durga Devi, and this internal energy is personified as Srimati Radharani. Now this may be a bit difficult to understand for ordinary folks. When we discuss about anything esoteric, such as the loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees, what's to speak of Srimati Radharani, they're often difficult for the materialists to understand. This is not something that is encouraged to speak publicly upon. But amongst devotees, this is okay to speak about. Shri Shri Gaura Ki Jai. So it's very difficult for us to actually understand it because of mundane sexual attraction. If somebody is still at a level where they have any identification with this gross material body, then it will be very difficult for them to understand these loving exchanges between, the highest devotee, Supreme Lord, the expansion of the Supreme Lord, Srimati Radharani and Krishna. So she's part of him. It's difficult to understand if we're on this bodily platform, because everything in the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So this perverted reflection would be, some kind of mundane sexual activity that, the materialists may think of, and this is simply not the case in the spiritual world. So because we are under this diluting potency, we're incredibly diluted and dulled down, it's very difficult for us to perceive these things because we have this bodily identification still. So what does that exactly mean? Well, for instance, if somebody is in the body of a female human being, then it is the nature of that soul to act in a particular way in time according to the body. So, this soul that is in this human female form will feel inclined to dress up, look beautiful, paint their nails, put on some perfume, because these are the things that they so believe that attracts the opposite sex. This is what happens. And similarly, the soul that is, spending some time in the male body, he will want to appear, maybe strong or intelligent or witty or financially secure, so he can provide some kind of protection to the female. And this is how these material conditionings work on the body. So they're showing themselves to each other because they want, some attraction. They want some so-called protection. They want to feel, without fear, or like somebody has their back. But these so-called men and so-called women, they're actually an illusion. They're covered over by Krishna's external energy. That's what this verse is describing. Both are looking for some kind of security, and some kind of happiness in the material world, but little do they know that security and happiness, it doesn't exist on a material platform. It doesn't happen in the material world. So any pursuance of this is simply illusion. So a woman, she'll think, I'll marry this man so I'll be safe and he'll provide protection. But, there is a level of illusion here. It's just like, for instance, if somebody is on a plane and there's a man and a woman, a couple seemingly, soul in a man's body, soul in a woman's body, they're on a plane, and all of a sudden there's a big shift in weather conditions, and the plane is becoming turbulent. The people on board are becoming very disturbed or distraught because they're thinking the plane might go down. The man, he might grab the woman's hand and start caressing it or rubbing it, trying to solace this woman. But in reality, this woman, she's not getting any protection from this man. She's thinking she is. She's thinking that he's comforting her, but there is no change in this material situation. The plane, it's still going to go down. There's nothing he can do about it. And similarly, the man is in even more illusion, thinking that he can protect his wife by, holding her hand or talking her through it. This is an arrangement where the plane very well could go down. So both these parties, being mentioned, they're both in illusion, and Krishna is pointing this out for us and how to become free from this. Because the people that are in illusion, they'll continue coming back over and over, taking more births, taking more deaths, getting put into a womb which is completely uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be there. And, the person who has come past this illusory state, he moves on to the spiritual platform and hopefully makes enough progress to go back home, back to Godhead. If not, he may take another body where his facility is even greater to pursue this path of life. So, it says in the Bhagavatam that even the man, even the great sage, even the very, very learned pundit, he could be in a situation where, he shouldn't be around women, otherwise his wife. Even if it's his daughter, even if it's his mother, like that. Even if it's like the highest of sages, he can still lose his attention and he can fall down very easily. And it's described the same way for the woman with the man. So the Vedic injunction is we should keep separate in our ordinary dealings. For instance, there's a great sage that comes to mind, Vishwamitra Muni, right? He was doing all types of different austerities in the Himalayas. He was meditating for thousands and thousands upon years, doing great austerity. We can't even conceive this great austerity. It's Ekadashi today, so, everyone to some extent has been practicing some level of austerity, whether it's fasting from grains or fasting or chanting more rounds, reading more, whatever it may be. And this even seems difficult to us. Or for instance, on Janmashtami, we have one day a year where we fast from everything, and some people, they can't even handle that. It's incredibly difficult for some. Some people, we take prasad at 1:30 or 2, and it's difficult for them to make it, to the next morning. In the morning, they wake up for japa and they can't help but just think about what's for breakfast. So, obviously, as conditioned souls, we're not inclined for any type of austerity like Vishwamitra Muni was. And he simply heard the ankle bills of, who was it? Menaka? And he had some issues. So we should be very, very cautious, about this association with, men and female, men and women. So this next verse we'll take is 9:14. And Krishna is saying that always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So Krishna is describing some qualities of his pure devotees. Those who have unalloyed devotion to him, they're always trying to think of him. They're always trying to meditate upon him. And these souls are very rare, actually. And Krishna is describing their symptoms. He says, my pure devotee is always absorbed in kirtan and bhajan. He is constantly in worship. He's constantly chanting, endeavoring with great determination to serve me. He's offering obeisances in the temple room. He's doing all kinds of devotional service to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is like without a break. It doesn't just come sometimes when I feel like it. So he's describing what happens to these pure devotees, the Mahatmas, who actually operate at this platform. And, there's different standards of the pure devotee that have been talked about in this movement. There's different levels to it, right? But Srila Prabhupada, these are the behaviors of more or less all of the devotees who are staying at the temple in the movement, or at least should be the behavior of all of those who are living outside of the temple. So Srila Prabhupada was once asked how many pure devotees are there in this movement, and he said, how many devotees are there in the movement? Meaning every one of them is pure according to this definition. It's just to what level of purity that devotee, holds himself to and comes to that platform. So we have talked about two extremes here in text 13 and 14. We've talked about the Mayavadis, who may not have the correct understanding of the Lord and their intelligence is diluted. And then we have talked about the Mahatmas, the great souls, whose intelligence is corrected by Shastra, Sadhu. Shastra, and help me out here, I'm drawing a blank. There we go, Guru, of course. So there's these two extremes that Krishna is describing, but there's also many souls who find themselves in between these extremes. So we're going to talk about those type of devotees in the next few verses. Others who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, diverse in many, and in the universal form. So Prabhupada is making it clear that Mahatma, in the last purport, it's not, a loose term. It cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. So he's being clear on what's a Mahatma and what is not a Mahatma. And these Mahatmas are always engaged in these activities that I discussed. Whereas generally people are on a selfish platform. They're engaged in maybe rendering some service, maybe working a job, trying to support their family, or being partial to whatever caste they're in, or whatever religions finds themselves worshiping. They may be partial to the Christians because I'm saved by Christ, or they may be partial to their countrymen or their race. Some people are on a very gross platform being partial to their bodily color. Now these platforms they're not the highest, because they're all acting on more or less a selfish platform. They're doing some kind of service for their countrymen or their friends or family, whereas the highest work that one can do to any living entity is to propagate this Harinam Sankirtan movement that Lord Chaitanya, propagated and that Srila Prabhupada brought to the West. So this is real welfare work. And Krishna is describing that, those who are engaged in cultivation of knowledge or predominantly in jnana, these people, they are not also at the highest platform. These people who are engaged in jnana or Hatha or Ashtanga, these type of yogis, they still may go to temple and they still may do some Murti Puja, or they still may chant japa and beads, but they're doing this to pursue liberation, to pursue moksha. This is their greatest goal. And this is also not the highest. This is not important to the most pure devotee, moksha or liberation. So these jnanis, they're falling short. And Krishna is mentioning 3 different categories of yogis. Ekatvena is the first category, and these people will say that I am God and God is I. These people think that they're asleep, and that once they wake up, they will realize that they are God. But this is the lowest platform of these 3 categories that are mentioned in text 15, because they're imagining themselves as God, and they're misled off the rip, and they fall down. This is what happens to people with this understanding of who is God. And they're trying to understand God, but you can't understand the whole in this situation. You can get some understanding from the whole by a sample, just as if you are cooking rice and you take 1 grain of rice out to test it to see if it's cooked, the whole batch is cooked all the way. Or if you take a sample of the ocean water, the salt consistency in the ocean. But you can't get a full understanding from the Supreme by just studying the soul aspect. And this is what these people are doing. They're meditating on within. And when they're doing these meditations from within, it's tinged by their senses, which are imperfect, and their mind, which is imperfect. So they come to incorrect understandings of the absolute truth, although they do get to understand some parts of God. So this is not the highest, this is the lowest of these 3 categories. And then there's Pritakvena Bahuda. They accept these demigods as worship, as they accept different devatas. They think that any form of the Lord that I want to worship is going to lead to the same place. They use it as facility, you can say, for some type of concentration. This level of yogi worships. So this Pratakvena Bahuda, they're worshiping the demigods. They're involved in this type of worship. And they're just using the Murti as a stepping stone to basically merge into Brahman. Where we know that Krishna does not say this. He says, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. In this verse it says that Krishna is the supreme controller and he has a Satchidananda body. And his Satchidananda body is covered over by this Brahman effulgence that these people are looking to worship. So, and this Brahman effulgence, it's otherwise known as the Brahma Jyoti, it's a covering of those who have not received the highest knowledge or are pursuing Krishna in full. So this also is not the highest platform. And one may say, well, how do you know that? The demigods, I think those are God. But there's so many references in the Bhagavad Purana stating that out of the 33 crores of demigods, Krishna is the supreme. They're all servants of Krishna. And whenever, for instance, there's a cosmic disturbance, all of these 33 million demigods, they come and they bow to Lord Vishnu's feet in the cosmic ocean. So why do they bow to Vishnu's feet? Very simple. Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Otherwise, why would all these demigods be coming to bow at his feet? And there is a specific demigod, one in particular, who is a special case, right? There's a special case, Lord Shiva. He is not a Jiva soul, nor is he Vishnu Tattva. He is somewhere in the middle. And we call him Mahadev. He has a special position. He is the topmost of the Vaishnava devotees. So he is a pure devotee, and he is pursuing, worshiping God, to the highest platform. We use him. A lot of devotees may have asked for his blessings before coming to this movement. I know I definitely did, and I know there's a lot of other devotees here who as well did, because we need the Lord's representatives and devotees as an AOK to worship the Lord. This is why we chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. This is why we chant this before every round, because we must address the Lord's pure associates before we address Radha Krishna. This is etiquette. And then this last category that is talked about is Vishvato Mukam. And these followers, they think the whole material world as a self is a manifestation of God. So we hear several different people, they may share their ideas that, they think that the universe is supreme. Oh, I think God is the universe. Just like I have a body here, I am seated in this body and I am doing various activities. The whole universe is God's body. This is what they see the world as, or God as. And this is not actually wrong, because they are thinking of God as supreme, and we know that Krishna, he shows us his Vishvarup, or his eternal form of, the universal cosmic manifestation. But these specific devotees, they are attracted to this. And the Bhakta, he does not have attraction to this form. He has attraction to the Lord with the peacock feather, who is blackish just like a rain cloud, and he plays the flute in Vrindavan. And he's amongst all these cowherd boys sharing exchanges and different pastimes, endless pastimes. This is what is really attractive to the Bhakta. So this last category, it is the most elevated platform of these three platforms that are discussed in, text 15. These others who are engaged in cultivation of knowledge, worship of the Supreme Lord, and as the one without a second and diverse in many and in the universal form. This is what this verse is speaking of. And let's see. I know that I was reading Madhva Acharya, he was commenting that in terms of worship of the Lord, he is one of the halves to our movement. We're called the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? So Lord Chaitanya, he took specific things that Madhva Acharya taught in relation to deity worship or in moods of worshiping the Supreme. And he talks about how whether you worship Lakshmi Narayan, or you worship Sita Ram, or you worship Radha Krishna, all of these devotees can be considered Mahatmas. It is not that a Mahatma is just somebody who worships Radha Krishna. Somebody who worships Sita Ram in the same mood, in the mood of bhakti, can also come to this level of Mahatma. So I thought that, that was kind of interesting, and that goes with all of Vishnu Tattva. That goes with, Kurma avatar. That goes with, all of the different manifestations, all of the expansions of Lord Krishna, whether it's Purushottama or, Krishna, or, you name it, Vrahadev, all of the devotees, if they have a special relationship and they're worshiping with this bhakti, love and devotion, they can come to this level of Mahatma. So in text 16, Krishna says, "But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire of the offering." So this is further explanation of the universal form. Those who worship the universal form, or those who are attracted to these 1,000 heads, or these 1,000 arms, 1,000 bodies, or somebody who is attracted to yajna or Vedic sacrifice, fire sacrifice, doing, different Vedic rituals. Often these people, they meditate on trying to go to the higher planetary systems like Indraloka or Swargaloka. And these yogis, this is also not the highest platform. Because ultimately they make it to Swargaloka or Indraloka, and they get to enjoy for many, many years. They have a long lifespan. They have many beautiful women to enjoy with. They have nice music. They have the most opulent food you could even imagine. They have, beautiful scenery. But ultimately, they make it to this very, very high level of living, and then they have to come down and they crash, because what goes up must come down when we're talking about material things, and that is just what we're talking about. Now, Lord Krishna says that if you worship me in full, rather than worshiping a demigod or going about some Vedic sacrifice to try to reach a heavenly planet, this is much higher. I will take you to my abode, right? Those who worship me, you achieve me. Those who worship the demigods or the devatas, they achieve them. Those who worship for higher planets, higher planetary systems, they achieve that. So this is touching on this. And in the next verse, Krishna is saying that I am the father of the universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I'm the object of knowledge, the purifier of the syllable Om. I'm also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. So Krishna is saying that out of the devatas, that Brahma he's superior, he's the creator, right? This is the position that Lord Brahma is given. He's one of the topmost personalities among these devatas. And he's ultimately Krishna's son. He is born from Krishna's navel, right? So Krishna is saying that I am the father, right? If Lord Brahma was imparted to create all this material manifestation by the father, Krishna, we have to ask, big scale questions like this, okay, if Brahma created it, who created Brahma, right? It's just Krishna. And he's also saying that I am the mother, right? The father, he provides so much for the young, and the mother provides all type of different loving, caring elements. So Krishna, he's providing both of these to his devotee. He's providing everything. He's sustaining all of his devotees' lives, where they have to make no separate endeavor once they're giving everything to try to worship him in full. And Krishna is also providing such a level of love, it is equal to the love that the mother is providing for the young. It's superior to that even. So by knowing these things, we can shift our attention from worshipping Brahma or one of the other devatas to Krishna as the supreme, because he provides it all. There's no reason to go, to the just a servant when you can go to the person, the real proprietor of everything. For instance, let me think of an example. If somebody is being taxed by the government, they can be being taxed $1,000 in tax, and they're under stress and they want to save themselves some money. They don't have that much money, so they go to a representative of the government and they try to cut a deal, right? They say, okay, look here, I'll pay $500 to the government and I'll give $200.50 bribe to you. Is that okay? That way, you get some money that you wouldn't already get. You get a little extra for yourself, and I get to save $250. No, this is not right. This is actually condemned. This is taking shortcuts. This is cheating the government. Similarly, to go and worship the demigods, it is cheating Krishna. And what is to speak? Krishna also, he has the best interest of the devotee in mind. He actually looks at what is best for this devotee so he can surrender to me fully. Therefore, when somebody goes and worships Krishna, it may take a very, very long time for him to get some kind of material benediction, right? Because Krishna is looking to give this benediction that his devotee is properly purified in order to give this material benediction, right? Whereas if you go to the demigods, they're not looking after the devotee's best interest. They look to see if this devotee is providing what they ask for in the puja ceremony, and then the devata is giving that material benediction, whether it's good for that devotee or not. So this is another very important reason of why we should not be going to the demigods, because ultimately it could lead to downfall. I mean, just think, if somebody has some type of deep material-rooted clinging, and he goes to the demigod for money, and the demigod provides the money because they were pleased, he could use this for some material thing that is totally bogus, that brings him away from God. So we must be careful. This is why it is best to worship Krishna. One of the many reasons. And these people who are worshipping Krishna, some of them, like the yogis, they chant Om, right? Omkara. This is a transcendental sound vibration, and Krishna says, I am also equal to this. So he's giving the yogis even facility to remember Krishna through this transcendental sound vibration, whereas otherwise they may be just chanting Om, not knowing that it's Krishna. And they can come to the understanding of thinking of God if they know that Om is Krishna. I told somebody that today on books, that they were wearing an Om shirt, and I told them that, that's the sound representation of the Supreme Lord. I said, I had no idea. I just thought it was something that people chant. I thought it's like some Buddhist thing. They took some books. And the Lord also says that I am the Rig, the Amnasama, and the Yajur Veda, because there's a class of devotees who study these things scrutinizingly without coming to the supreme understanding that they should be rendering service to God. So if they have this understanding that these three scriptures are also God, they can also slowly come to the platform of worshiping God. So we see in these verses how merciful the Lord is being to all these different forms of people who are trying to come to Him. It's really special. This next verse, text number 18, I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. So Krishna is telling more things of what he is. And that eternal friend, he has always been there. Right? He's always been the witness. No matter if we have things where we want to hide from him or not, he is the witness regardless. He knows regardless. There's a very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, and it says, Shuyogni kyamarudeva soma sandhyahani dishta kamgo swayam dharmati hete dayasya sangasina. Krishna is saying the sun, the fire, the sky, the air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and the super soul himself are all witnesses to the activities of all the different living entities. So Krishna, he's always watching. He's giving us ways he's even watching us. If we want some kind of material way to think, oh, look at the sun shining, Krishna saw that. He's being very, very helpful if we're trying to, understand the Lord from a perspective as such. And then in the next verse, he's saying, I'm the one who showers rain, the one who gives everything. Therefore, I am the controller of all controllers. Right? Krishna, he is the ultimate gati. People who are forgetting him, they're falling down to demigod worship. Who don't know him, they fall down to that. Or they come to that level, thinking that that's high. But, our job is actually to instruct them on what the highest is. And they don't come they don't come to this because they are not submerged in Vedanta, as Ramanuja Acharya would say. These type of devotees are Trividha, because they're not interested in Vedanta, they are interested in different aspects or different philosophies, different worshipping Chandra or Indra. So 21 is a very special verse. I think it's 21. Yes. This is a very special verse, and there's a nice story behind this verse that we may have heard or may not have heard. This verse reads, "But those who worship me with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and preserve what they have." So Krishna's again talking about the Mahatmas and how he treats his devotee. They will always remember, Mom, me. These people are engaged constantly in his devotional service, as we talked about. And for example, there's many examples of these levels of devotees and how Krishna reciprocates, such as the lady, she comes to baby Krishna and she's the fruit basket carrier, right? And she gives Krishna some fruit, and Krishna turns the rest of the basket of fruit into these jewels and diamonds and gold without her asking. Because he wants to reciprocate with those who are his pure devotees. Or, for instance, Sudama Brahmana, right? He offers a little chipped rice to Krishna, and he's embarrassed by it. He wants to offer something opulent, but he's dead broke. He doesn't have anything to his name, just a little chipped rice. Yet Krishna rewards him and his wife with this opulent palace and all these servants, all this wealth. He doesn't ask for it. So there was this devotee, Arjuna Acharya. This is a true story. He was from South India, and Arjuna Acharya, he was going along, and he was a great pundit. He was writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna Acharya, he came across this verse, and he was so absorbed in writing his commentary for the Bhagavad Gita that he had a standard of every day going to 3 houses, no more, no less, and begging alms for him and his wife. And he would simply take and accept whatever is provided. The first day, say he went out and begged, and he wasn't given anything going to these 3 houses, so he was satisfied. And the second day, he was so absorbed in the study of the Bhagavad Gita, writing his commentaries, that he forgot. And evening came, and he realized, I didn't go out and beg. And his wife was already sleeping, so he figured, okay, I won't. And the third day comes, and some other event comes where he doesn't end up getting his alms. And he's reading this verse, in this state. And he's saying that Krishna, he personally comes and provides what my devotees lack and preserve what they have. How can that be? I'm his devotee. I'm trying to give everything to him. How is it that he's personally coming to provide what I don't have when I've gone 3 days without sustenance, me and my wife? So this is how he's thinking, and he crosses the verse out. He scratches it out because he has his doubt about it. And then he goes to the well. He leaves angry because he's distraught. He hasn't had food in 3 days. This Gita verse, it's totally bewildering him because Krishna is saying, I will personally come. He's distraught, and he leaves maybe with a bit of anger. And he goes down to the river to take his bath, and he comes back, or he's down at the river taking his bath, and immediately Krishna and Balaram appear to this great soul's wife. Little boys, dressed as little Brahmana boys, shaved head, shika, and they go up and they have all these baskets and opulent foodstuffs that they bring this Mataji. Elaborate puris, dal, nice sabji, baskets of fruit. They're bringing the Mataji all this great food, and they haven't eaten in 3 days. And this Mataji says, where have you come from, my dear Brahmana boy? This is so kind of you to give charity to me. Who is your spiritual master? Who do you study under? And the Brahmana boys say, your husband. And she says, oh, that is very weird. I've never seen you before. And they say, Hare Krishna. And they turn around as, brahmacharis may. And she notices that these two Brahmana boys have all type of lashes on their backs. And she's totally heartbroken. These saintly persons, who had the courage to whip you? Who had the courage to hurt you? She asks. Why are your backs full of lashes? She says, it was your children. He mistreats children. And the wife, as you can imagine, just got really disturbed. And so the husband comes back from taking his bath. And the wife is making a huge fit. My husband, how can you treat these children like that? You're a child abuser. How could you do that? He said, I did not abuse any children. Where have you heard this? He said, those children, they had lashes on their backs. They said it was you. They came and they provided all this food stuff because we were lacking. And the Brahmana, it blew his mind. He couldn't believe it. Lord Krishna came and he provided what I lacked in a time of need because I had some doubt here and Krishna showed me differently. So he went to his Bhagavad Gita scripture and he saw that these lines that he scratched out were no longer there because his wife, she had put sandalwood paste on Krishna and Balaram's back so these wounds could heal. So in this way, he knew that Krishna literally, he personally comes and provides what we lack and preserves what we have. So thank you for kindly hearing this evening and tolerating me. Does anyone have any questions on any of these verses that we covered today? Yes, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your nice class. In sort of like the middle, you gave one analogy that if I take 1 grain of rice out of a big pot, I can analyze that rice and see if the rest of the pot is cooked. And also the same with the water, I can see, I can analyze that drop of water, a little bit of water, and then can decipher that the entire ocean is this much salt, or maybe it has this chemical or whatever. So, and then after you said that, maybe I didn't hear it right, but that the yogi is sitting there analyzing the soul within the body, but that we can't get a full understanding of God that way. So how does that make sense? If in the material world there's examples like that where I can take a small thing out and then see the bigger thing based on that. So why can't I do that with my soul?
Well, what this certain class of yogi is pursuing is Brahman realization. This yogi who is meditating in, within, trying to see Krishna's Brahman effulgence and merge into this Brahman effulgence. This is what he's pursuing. So we know that Krishna says that this is merely a covering of my personal form. So this is an incomplete way to pursue knowing God. It's lacking in some way. Because the ultimate goal for somebody who is pursuing just Brahman effulgence or getting lost in the Brahmajyoti, Krishna is saying there is beyond that. There is my personal form that devotees come to understand. Right? There's Brahman realization, there's Paramatma realization, and there's also Bhagavan realization. So in Bhagavan realization, this is something that is full. So this example can apply to Bhagavan realization because Krishna says that this is the topmost realization, you follow? Whereas it cannot just apply to Brahman realization because Krishna is saying there is beyond that. I can see how the example I had given may have made it a bit difficult to understand. Usually Srila Prabhupada gives that example in different cases, although I did hear it in relation to this. So, does that answer your question a little bit more? This Brahman realization, it is not the highest realization, Krishna says.
Yeah, it makes sense that that's like to do with Brahman realization, but if we take that analogy, then why can't it apply to understanding the personal side of God?
Right. Well, the impersonal side of God, they don't read any scriptures. They don't believe in the form of God. They don't render any type of devotional service. Therefore, their relationship with Him, it's on a very low level. They're just worshiping some, impersonalness. So this devotee, he's not, plain and simple, it's not the highest. The impersonal realization. Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering then, if we take that example, then why, because that's a fact, like about the rice or the water. So why then, in that example, if I'm looking within at my heart and my soul, does Brahman realization come from there? And why can't that? Because I can understand the absolute pot of rice is cooked, absolute ocean, but why can't I understand the absolute truth by looking at my soul or my heart?
It came back to me. Somebody who is meditating on within, right? They don't have any scriptures. So therefore their within is not the within that Krishna is talking about, because it is tinged by imperfections. It is tinged by the material senses. It is tinged by an impure mind. So you can't come to the highest realization if your mind is impure. Therefore, these yogis, they go about doing all types of these purificatory activities, but ultimately they fall down because they realize, okay, I may be able to purify my mind or my body by doing ashtanga or pranayama or doing some fasting or meditating on some type of demigod or, murti for concentration, or meditating, fixing your attention between the eyes or at the top of the head, like somebody pursuing Brahman effulgence is, but their mind is still, it's influencing, and their mind is not perfect. And they come down very quickly once they come out of whatever austerity that they're doing. They might eat, a nice material meal, and they'll immediately be catapulted down out of this level of purification because they're eating sin, because they don't know that you have to offer it as a sacrifice to Vishnu. So their process is incomplete because there's so many material circumstances that they have to deal with, and it's just going up and coming down. Whereas this Krishna consciousness, we don't have to come down anymore, because Srila Prabhupada has given us direct instruction. His books are direct instruction how to spiritualize every single aspect of our life, so we don't have to look for some mechanical method to feel spiritual. He's showing us all these different ways that we can remember God, from when we're taking a shower to getting out of the shower, to taking food stuff for cooking, or cooking to, or providing maintenance to the body, any type of bodily maintenance, any type of relationship with another person. He talks about any type of part of nature. You can say that is that part of Krishna, because he gives us step by step things how to spiritualize every aspect of our life, so we don't have to come down anymore. So in this way, this Krishna consciousness movement is complete in every way, shape, or form. And if you're not feeling like this ISKCON that Srila Prabhupada has so lovingly presented to us is complete, then you are really missing something. Because this movement that Prabhupada gave us is full in every way. So thank you for kindly hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.